Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the third week of the 50 Days to 50 conversations. I hope you are enjoying them. This is conversation 11, 12. I don't know. I don't know why I bothered to keep track. A, it doesn't matter. And B, that is not my strength. But I am glad to be back. And I'm glad to have someone in my life who, if you know the phrase multi-hyphenate, Tania is a multi-hyphenate in my life. She is my friend. She is my colleague. She is technically my employee. She is my mentor in many ways. She's my sounding board. She is the place I go when I want to scream my face off and know that it will safely stay there. So please join me in welcoming my friend Tania Blanich to the camera. Hello, Tania.
Hello, that was a lovely introduction. Thank you.
Well, it was an actually very true introduction. You take more of my, you know what makes me crazy right now than anybody else in my life. And I hope that's not just because I happen to sign your paychecks.
It is not. It's because I also get to do that to right back at you.
Pro quo. Well, at any rate, I was really happy when you said yes to this because you're from Fargo originally, but then you went off and lived this great big life and came back. And we connected over the phone 10 years ago during a really challenging time in my life. And I think about that a lot because your response was so lovely. When my stepdad was dying, when I was 39, I was in the hospital with him through most of the end of his life. And you called because you had just come back to town and were working at the Rourke, and you gave me this beautiful introduction about how everyone on your board had said that you absolutely needed to meet me. And you went, blah, blah, blah. And you said, so do you have any time for coffee? And I said, I would love to meet you. And then I explained my stepdad was dying. And you said, oh my gosh, why did you answer the phone? And I said, well, because I'm working, whatever. And so that I think about you a lot around the anniversary of his death, which will be 11 years in February.
Wow.
But it's a nice way to keep track of how long we have also been friends and put a little smile on that some sort of difficult memory sometimes. Sure. So you're back. You've been back now for a number of years. You moved back for the reason many people move back home, to take care of an aging parent. And, you've had this huge career in the arts. So in so many ways, it's funny that I am the top of the arts partnership and you are my number two, but in so many ways, you're such an extraordinary number two that it makes a lot of sense. You complement my strengths, and I hope I appreciate yours because they are not strengths that I have. For instance, no one would say to me, would you like to be in charge of our Excel spreadsheeting? I would not. I would like you to hire Tania Blanich to be in charge of Excel spreadsheeting because it's a real strength of yours. But that was a very long introduction by way of saying.
Yeah, I got to go, Dana.
That's right. Oh, and great. Thanks for joining me. You had this great big life out in the great big world and you came back. So I'm really curious to know, what are one or two of the big lessons that you learned up to your 50s, up to 50, that you've carried with you post 50? Because the great majority of your post 50 life has been back in Fargo Moorhead.
Mm-hmm. When Linda Boyd was speaking the other day and she said she doesn't plan, and I thought, I don't plan either. I plan for short term. Mm-hmm. I plan for Thanksgiving. I know what plates I'm going to be using for the appetizers. But I've never had a big plan. Mm-hmm. And that's served me in ways that I didn't understand maybe at the time, because I was always open to the next thing.
Mm.
And I was lucky that it came to me, that things came to me. I have a friend who always had a 5 and even 10-year plan, and it's like, wow, 30 years on, she really hasn't accomplished any of that. Um,
Wow.
and I think it's because she was so
Rigid.
rigid. Yes. Thank you for knowing that that's what that meant.
There's a reason we talk on the phone 52 times a day.
Um, and so I've kind of gone with the flow, and I'm not saying that one should never plan.
Mhm.
Um, and but you have to be open to things. And um, I also learned just a little bit before 50, I'm really okay on my own. And
Mm.
by that, I am independent, but it's also that I can muscle through things. And it's not that I don't love having friends and family that I can reach out to, but I'm self-sufficient.
Mm.
And that, I think we all are. We just don't always recognize that in ourselves. And I think it's so important to be self-sufficient, which again does not mean that you don't have people around you. It just means you're not afraid if you don't have people around you. I love to travel on my own. It's nice to share a beautiful sunset with somebody or a great meal, but it's also kind of super fun to eat a great meal all by yourself.
Yeah.
And so those are things that I think set me up for being okay where I am.
Well, what I took from what you just said was this idea of self-sufficiency is really not to say if you are uncoupled, however you define that, you're self-sufficient. And if you're coupled, you don't need to be. I think the important quality is to be self-sufficient regardless. And you
Yep.
sort of said that, but I think of myself as being highly self-sufficient, and I'm happy to be coupled. And I think you're better in a pair, or however you want to define it, if you can also be okay alone, because I don't need to spend every second of my life with my partner. There's a lot of times where I also am pretty comfortable being alone.
Yeah.
I've not traveled the world like you have alone, but it's a great quality, I think, just to foster. And I also think it's a quality you can practice and grow
Yeah.
throughout your lifetime.
I have told you this story, but I'll share it with
Yeah.
that after my husband and I had separated, and I had the opportunity to go to Argentina for work, and I took time, and it was the first trip I had taken by myself that wasn't business without him for, however long we had been together. And I was down in Tierra del Fuego, and I went on a hike, and I'm not really a hiker, but it was a guided hike. And Tierra del Fuego is very boggy, and there are a
Okay.
lot of streams. And so I was trying to get across streams without, dipping my hiking boots in. And I said to my guide that I used the totally wrong term in Spanish, but I said I'm unbalanced. And he looked at me and he was like, I don't understand. And I said, well, I don't have my equilibrium. And then I thought in that moment, but I can get it. Um, and that it was not about me crossing rocks. It was about my life and figuring out that, yeah, you can feel that you've lost your balance, but you can practice and you can get it back. And so that's taken me a lot of places,
Mm.
including back to Fargo, which was both easy and hard.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that story actually, because I think it's what you said is so, so true. Being unbalanced is not a perpetual state unless you elect to stay there, but you can work up to regaining balance. It might not look like the balance you used to have,
Right.
but that doesn't matter. I mean, it's about moving forward and getting just a little bit more alignment. I have these two things to make sure you see from Bonnie Bowman. You look especially pretty today. I
Bonnie
think
Bowman, that's because I'm wearing lipstick like my
I
mother
was
would have wanted.
Beverly is looking down and saying, "Thank goodness you put on lipstick, Tanya." My gosh. And she is saying, in listening to you define planning, I think I am not a planner either. I'm sure I am not, and I like it. Yeah, I think that planning piece, again, she also has planned Thanksgiving because I'll be there. But that 5-year, 10-year thing, there's nothing wrong with having goals, but goals are different than plans.
Oh, absolutely. That is absolutely different. And I think, I mean, I've never been a very conscious goal setter either. But I think I've always had them. I just didn't know that I had them.
Mhm.
And I think that's another thing is sort of, I don't know, I never thought of myself as ambitious. Um, Certainly not in the way that's negative.
Mhm.
But I realized I was ambitious.
Oh my gosh, you've accomplished so
Well, but
much.
that's a little different.
Yeah.
Accomplishment and ambition. But my ambition was always to be really good at what I was doing. And
Mm.
then that kind of led me to the next thing. But I will also say what I learned is that maybe I worked too hard at doing that. Um, and I feel like I missed out on some things that I'm realizing at my advanced age where maybe, I don't know, I didn't used to go to live music and now I kind of just adore it. And I don't go all the time, but when I do, I'm so happy.
Yeah.
It gives me a lot of joy. So, when you're busy, you forget to do things like that that give you
Mhm.
joy.
Well, it is one of the great perks to our job.
Yeah,
Sometimes we go to things out of obligation that end up being real presents.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, if you could give yourself, and you've touched on this a little bit, but I'm curious to know if there are other things. If you could give your younger self, wherever you want to put that age, advice that you know now, what else would you say besides, hey, maybe you don't need to work quite so hard. You can kick back a little bit.
Um, I think it's funny because in some ways I took a lot of risks. I mean, and risk is that's not quite the word. Um,
You were adventurous.
but I was pretty
You
adventurous
went
and I
off to a
was,
great big college. You had a bunch of
yeah,
trips through Europe. You went to Spain, or I mean, to South America. I mean, you've done a lot of, you had huge jobs in New York City. Those are big adventures.
but I also think that so yeah, I think I had adventures, but I think I avoided risks.
Mm. Mm.
And, um, it's all turned out okay. But I think that there were some things I might have been a little hesitant to take on that might have uh, been good for me to take on. Um, and paths I could have gone down that I just didn't. And they all lead you where they're supposed to. I mean, but I think despite being open, so I was open to opportunities that came my way. I wasn't necessarily open to making opportunities.
That's really good advice. Not that you have to do it every time, but that it's just
No,
something to be aware of.
and to not be afraid of.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
you don't have to take it, but
Yeah.
you have to think about it in a way
Yeah.
that is useful. Like I don't have regrets. I mean, I'm sure we all have regrets, and I might have a couple, but I don't live in a land of regret. It's
Right.
not. So I'm not kicking myself because I didn't do X, Y, or Z. But yeah, I mean, they're just some things I think I could have pushed on that might have led me someplace else.
It's really interesting. Last question for you is what's been the most joyful or some joyful aspects of being 50 plus?
I do think you stop caring a little bit in the best possible way. I was reminded of that. I was having a massage the other day, and we were talking about jewelry, and I was saying I never wear my diamond earrings, which I'm wearing today. And she said, "Why don't you?" And I said, "Well, people don't kind of wear their diamond earrings around here." And she said, "What do you care?" And I thought, yeah, what do I care?
They're so beautiful. You should never take them off.
I kind of agree. So that's just this new thing. So you should always wear your good jewelry no matter what.
I agree. You know what? That's funny. That's why I started wearing my wedding bracelet. I only wore that for really special occasions. And then I thought, if you live another 30 years and only wear it twice a year, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Put it on and have it checked every year to make sure that all the clasps are good and wear it every day, all the time. It's my favorite thing. Why would I keep it in a box?
Well, and I do that. I grew up with a mother who loved to entertain, and she made beautiful tables, and the house always looked beautiful. And we grew up understanding that you use coasters.
Yes.
And she wasn't so precious about things, but I've learned as I get older, what is the point of keeping something in a cabinet? Or like I wasn't going to use silver for Thanksgiving, and I thought, what the hell is it doing in my basement?
Yes.
For all you people who want to steal the silver, it's in the
In the
basement.
basement, right. Just straight down the stairs. It's this lovely art. Stop and admire that. Pocket the silver and head out. Well, Tania, this has been super interesting. One of the things that I've loved about these conversations is sometimes I go in thinking, oh, I know what they'll say because I know the person so well. And sometimes I go in thinking, wow, I have no idea what they're going to say because I don't really know the person. And I have been surprised with each conversation. And this one is no exception. So thank you for saying yes. I really did give you the option to say no, but I appreciated that you said yes.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Good. I will, talk to you in 6 or 7 minutes for work, I'm sure. All right, everybody else, I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.